Hello everyone, welcome to Chapter 10, Coaching and Performance Management. I, Stephanie Quintana, will be presenting alongside with Irene Gates, Erica Mata, and Paul Michael Villarreal. So let's get started. So let's talk about the need for performance coaching. Has anyone walked into a performance review with his or her supervisor or manager before and they just seem put off by the whole situation? Their facial expression and body language just tells you that they're ready to get the performance review over with and leave. I know I have, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. Many managers and supervisors often have negative views on doing performance reviews for employees, so much so that they are inclined to ignore poor performances to avoid having those tough conversations of fixing the problems that are right in front of their eyes. That type of behavior is unacceptable, especially coming from a person in management. The employee that gets punished by this behavior is not the employee who does subpar work. It's the hard workers that do what they are supposed to. A lot of times, the hardworking employees are given the grunt of all the work because, as hard workers, their effective performance is expected. Most of the time, these poor performing employees know what to do, but they're just trying to cheat the system to get away with doing as little as possible. On the other hand, there are some instances where employees are performing poorly because they really don't know what to do. So, how do we fix these issues? There's only one clear answer, and that's coaching.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Paul Michael, and I am going to be talking about coaching and performance management. I felt that a constructive way to talk about coaching and performance management was by giving an example of a real life situation such as performance appraisal. In this example, my first talking point will be the summary. The summary will describe what is currently taking place. Then I will transition to the general steps to take as the individual who is giving the performance appraisal. Then, as the performance appraisal is completed, we will then transition to the roles of supervisors and managers. So, the performance appraisal example. Here's the summary. This is Stacy, the compliance manager. Stacy is conducting a mid-year evaluation on John, whom is a quality analysis. John is someone who knows what he must do, but sometimes has moments where he doesn't know what to do. Part of Stacy's responsibility is making sure she listens to what John has to say. She addresses issues of concerns. John and Stacy come to an agreement on an action plan and follow-up dates to reevaluate John's performance. So, the first step is Stacy is going to open the floor up by asking John to describe his strengths and attributes. This is where Stacy will be listening very closely to what John has to say about himself. So the first step is listening. Why is it important? Listening is the key to all effective communication. Without the ability to listen effectively, messages are more easily misunderstood. Stacy wants to listen to what John feels his strengths are. Step 2. Once John mentions all his strengths and attributes, Stacy will then communicate any strengths and attributes that John failed to mention about himself that Stacy notices about him. So for step 2, it's to communicate. So why communicate is important? Well, good communication skills are essential to allow others and yourself to understand information more accurately and quickly. Stacy wants to make sure she is efficient to any key points that John did not mention about himself when it comes to his strengths. Step 3. Stacy will then revert conversation back to John by asking him what areas of opportunity does he see for himself. Step 3 is conversating. So, why is conversating important? Well, conversation is the key to language development, the exchange of thoughts and ideas and listening to each other. This is where Stacy and John will exchange their thoughts and ideas, leading to areas of improvement. Step 4, the performance appraisal. When John finishes explaining his areas of opportunity, Stacy will then begin expressing what she agrees with John on and any other areas that John possibly missed. This will then be the time for Stacy to elaborate on scoring and specific details that she notices throughout his performance. So performance appraisal, why is that important? Well, performance appraisals are essential for the growth of a company and the employee. It helps the company find out whether the employee is being productive or is a liability. Part of Stacy's responsibility is to submit this to her HR department. But in order to do that, she needs to discuss with John so he has a line of sight and they are both in agreement for what Stacy will turn in to the human resource department. Step 5, which is action plan. Once Stacy and John have discussed the areas of opportunity, Stacy and John will then create an action plan together. Stacy will ask John what 3 areas of opportunity would he like to work on throughout the time they meet again. So the action plan, why is it important? Well, an action plan is the framework for thinking about how you will complete tasks efficiently. It helps you not miss any steps, and it's very direct on what you will take on in order. Stacy is making sure that John is the one who will decide what goals he would like to achieve next time they meet again. Step 6, which is agreement. Stacy and John will then agree on acceptable follow-up date that will allow John enough time to accomplish all the action plan items that him and Stacy agreed upon. So, why is an agreement important? Well, an agreement is important because it prevents conflicts and mitigate risk. Stacy and John are now in the phase where they have come towards an agreement, and now John knows what action items he needs to work on. And Stacy now has a complete performance appraisal where she can now submit to the human resource department, which is HR. As you can see, these are the 6 steps that you would need when conducting a performance appraisal. You will need the listening. You will need to communicate. You will need conversating. You will need the performance appraisal. You will then create the action plan, and then you will have an agreement amongst one another. And these are the steps for the example of a performance appraisal. And this covers coaching and performance management. Now, we will then go ahead and transition to roles of supervisors and managers.
Understanding how important the roles that supervisors and managers play is important in effective coaching. As a member of management, you want not only to play an active role, but also a positive role. This will help make performance reviews to not seem like just another task, but more like an action plan. Managers and supervisors want to take a participative management approach when correcting poor performance issues so that the employees feel that you are not controlling the situation, but acting more like a coach and guiding them to do better.
Hello, my name is Erica Mata. On this particular slide, I'll discuss skills necessary for effective coaching. In the textbook, McLean and colleagues identified 4 main types of managerial coaching skills. They argue that managers as coaches need to be able to do the following: openly communicate with others, including subordinates and peers, take a team-oriented rather than individual approach to task, value people over task, accept the ambiguous nature of the working environment. With these skills, will make a great coach when it comes to business.
Does anyone know the role that the Human Resource Department plays in coaching and performance management? The professional role that the HRD plays in coaching and performance review is vital to all business organizations. The HRD department provides training and coaching practices to the management team, and they also ensure when coaches are being hired that they have interpersonal skills to be equipped to instruct. Keep in mind, the first basic coaching meeting is similar to an HRD intervention. The key takeaway for this slide is to remember that the goal of the HRD is to not only ensure that the coaching and performance management systems are functioning properly, but are also contributing to both individual development and organizational effectiveness. In the previous slide, we had mentioned an HRD intervention. Now, I know not everyone is familiar with this term, so we wanted to make sure to give the definition so that everyone would understand. An HRD intervention is designed to enhance the capabilities of employees and contribute to the overall organizational growth of the business.
Setting performance goals during discussion. Goal setting is an important part of performance management. Setting goals during a performance discussion leads to positive outcomes, such as satisfaction with the discussion, increased participation, perceived fairness and accuracy of feedback, and perceived utility of feedback. As noted above, setting specific goals have been shown to lead to positive behavior change. Finally, employees' participation in the goal setting process is more effective than simply assigning goals to employees. When employees are heard, they do better. They work harder, they work smarter, and this is overall a great aspect for the business to run smoothly and effectively. Tips for effective employee performance coaching. You're going to want to start off with coaching your managers, building a coaching culture, identify performance improvement opportunities, discuss the action plan together with the employee, show support, promote continuous learning, gather feedback, customize performance coaching activities, regularly evaluate performance, and finally but not least, keep track of their improvements. This will show you the progress from each employee as time progresses. Five fundamental coaching skills. First, you want to start off with building a rapport and relationship. One way to increase rapport is known as matching. Then you'll go to 2 to 3 different levels of listening and using intuition. 4, asking effective questions. 5, you're going to give constructive feedback. When you use these skills, for the primary coaching is when all the focus is on the conversation and primary on the coaching in their situation. The thinking, actions, and learning of a coachee benefit from the conversation. And if the conversation hasn't happened, the coachee is unlikely to have benefits in thinking or learning. The coaching is responsible for the results they are generating. If we acknowledge that we are responsible for something, it follows that we have power and influence over it. So we coach from the principle that individuals are ultimately responsible for their experience and also the results they're getting. That includes their job, relationships they've chosen, where they're living, etc. We do this because it's a more constructive viewpoint. For coaching conversations, ways to generate better outcomes for people, we need to maintain a sense of possibility that better outcomes are available for work.
Okay, everyone, let's play a game. Click on the Kahoot link to take an interactive quiz to test your knowledge about coaching and performance management.
Listed below is our references. Thank you so much. We hope you enjoyed our PowerPoint.